Hey, can you hear me okay? Hello? Can you hear me okay? Okay. So, okay, let's get started then. So I'm the pro side of this debate, and which is saying that liberal media it's more cause more divisiveness than Trump's remarks. So, I'll first take my points, and then it's going to be 3 minutes, and the mic will be delivered to you, and then maybe it's going to come back, and I can elaborate my points. So my first argument is that media itself is not liberal or conservative. They're a magnifier and they're a multiplier. They need drama and controversy to live on. If there's no controversy in the world, then they pretty much cannot survive. So whatever Trump say or the Republicans say or the alt-right or whoever say anything, they will broadcast it for 10 more times and just keep reminding people of, oh God, this is a horrible, horrible, horrible person, and which is gonna lead to a leverage effect in the end. So, and my second point is that the media, they are the liberal media, when they report these days, they focus on even though they were like, okay, we love each other, we love everyone in the world, but the reports keep focusing on the different sides of people. Like they focus on like Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ, and they will keep reminding people that you are different, and there is this differences between us, and now we cannot say Merry Christmas anymore because it's gonna hurt people's feeling. And to me, it's just like a reminder that we're different, and like it cannot even they're not even leading you to think to the side that okay, we maybe both love this football team or something like that, and they just have to keep saying keep reminding of you the different food you eat, different holidays you get, different color skin, and causing more conflicts between the races, I would say. And then my third point is that they're pretty double standard. the liberal media these days. Don't know what's the better word to describe that. For example, the Hamilton casting calls, they would say only.
Thank you. That's nice to meet you. I understand some of your concerns about how the media is, in general, for all media, designed far more today to meet the needs of the business. It is important for them to make their money. And a lot of that has to do with sensationalism, and it has a lot to do with like drawing everyone's attention to a new thing. And I think we're on the same page there. I think we all know that. And one of the important distinctions in this argument, however, is that we have to focus on the liberal media. And what makes the liberal media particularly divisive, for one. And we need to compare that with the divisiveness of Donald Trump. Now, I think the second part is going to be really easy. I think we all pretty much agree that Donald Trump is a divisive candidate. He used a lot of the techniques of division in his campaign. Most people voted against Hillary. They didn't vote for him. They voted against her. And I think that had a lot to do with how he used the media. I mean, initially, for one, he kind of fomented dissent in this angry young surge of these alt-right supporters, and not just them, just anyone who didn't have an identity, anyone who didn't really know why they were not happy or suffering or feeling like they're not getting what they deserve. And they saw him as a champion. And the reason they saw him a champion is because he had years of building an image in reality television. He had Breitbart and Fox groom him and tell the world from the conservative media side everything that they needed to know about him. And they were very careful to support what he said. If he tweeted that Barack Obama was not an American, that he was somehow born in Kenya, the media would follow up on that. Now, which side of the media was that? Was that the liberal side that was trying to get the entire country to argue about something that was fundamentally wrong. And I'll argue for the rest of this time, just to sort of give you a sense of where I'm going here, that these media outlets and the use of social media by Trump with Twitter are all an extension of him. Anything that you see the right-wing media outlets doing, you have to see his manipulation of that and those on board with him as colluding in that effort. Breitbart is now, I mean, you saw, Steve Bannon has been running the country, and now 6 months later, he's going back to Breitbart, and he's going to control the media again from that angle. Now, are they going to continue to work together? Are the news articles that are coming out of Breitbart, which are incredibly divisive, far more divisive than any liberal media source? So I think that's my start here. I'm going to give it a second and hand it off to you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't actually finish my third point earlier. So my third point is that the double standard liberal media these days use. Like for example, the casting calls from Hamilton, they would say like only Black and Hispanic actors wanted. And the liberal media praised that. I mean, which of course, I mean the whole production, the whole production, it's making Black and Hispanic. It would make sense. But if other job description says like only white wanted, it's gonna be like the end of the world. And I know to that point, it's so I think it all accumulated like since probably 2012, and the liberal media have started all this, like the Black Lives Matter movement and Hamiltons and all this stuff. It put to those I would say the Republican supporters. It accumulates their hatred, or it's the sense that these people are like, okay, I have to. This is the universal opinion. Like, you either take it or you are a demon. And then they finally come to the point that they will be like, okay, fuck, we're gonna break from it. And to me, it's like the media were pushing this part of the country away, because they only want that part. Okay, let me pass it to you and see. Okay.
All right, cool. Well, it's good to have a little quicker break so we can answer each other. Your comment about Hamilton, I mean, Hamilton chose for their production to have people of color on purpose because our founding fathers were all white. So that's not the liberal media making anything up. That's just a real thing that happened. And I think you're going to hear a lot of people on the conservative side, and you'll definitely hear Trump say that he is being lied about. People are saying mean things about him that aren't true. And of course, there's going to be over-exaggeration, but I'll tell you, most of the time, they are saying exactly the words that he said. It's not divisive for them to say the words that he said. If anything, we need to take people at their source. So if the cast of Hamilton and the producers are creating this sort of concept where no white actors are allowed to be accepted, that's controversial. Is that divisive? I don't feel it is. In my mind, I've seen it really bring people together. A lot of people love that. And I think a lot of people understand a little bit more about what made this country. And I think the fact that they appropriated, a style of music that is both musical and very traditional in our musical sense, but also in the way that they brought in like kind of hip hop and other elements. So I thought that was powerful. So I don't think that's the media. That's just liberals doing liberal things. I think that's different than how the media is representing information. And that leads me to an important point. And I think I'll talk about that and then I'll hand it back to you. The media itself, if you look at left and right, back in the day, like in the 50s and 60s, up to the 70s, the media was reliable. They were honorable. People had very thoughtful conversations. And you had people on the conservative, way conservative side and liberal side, and they were able to say some very dramatic things. James Baldwin was on, if you ever see, there's a documentary about him on the news there, talking to Dick Cavett, who's like whitest guy you've ever met, you know, but he's a hero. He's fantastic. He's one of those people that everyone loved, you know. He's just like Jimmy Kimmel today. And he was able to say some really intense things because they were going through the whole civil rights era. And everyone just talked about things. It's the kind of things that, you know, these rallies where right-wing people want to come and just talk and have their free speech, it was normal. That was the way the world was. Now, something happened in the 80s and late 70s, really, and it was Fox. You had Rupert Murdoch come together and say, hey, all these people are on the left now, coming up with CNN, right? Cable TV. And once cable TV kicked in, the left grabbed onto that and everyone ate it up. Then he saw an opportunity. He said, oh my God, there's all these ignored people on the right. We'll create Fox. And now we have Breitbart and we'll have others. So we have to think about the liberal versus the conservative side.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And yeah, I mean, I agree. Like back in the days, even though I mean I don't actually live back in the days, there was only like his Wikipedia page for me, but still, like back in the days, there are more like multi sources of media. People were able to speak their minds more. But now it's like you're either on the left side or you, well, I don't know. It gets people get demonized, and that demonization is really pushing people away. It's really dividing this country. Let me get back to you and continue what you said before.
Yeah, I mean, good segue there, because yeah, division in this country is really what we're talking about, right? I mean, it isn't good, and Donald Trump is not an instrument of unity. Donald Trump at this point is not capable of ever actually saying something that's going to unify this country, because we are already so divided. He could say the most beautiful words ever, and because we're all on opposite ends, it's going to be very difficult for anyone to accept him. And the reason we are where we are is largely because of him and the people that got him elected and the media sources that got him elected. What do you think of that?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, Trump is not like it's not a lovable guy, but I portray him more like a trigger, like when it comes to last year's election, and the people on the right hand side finally see this opportunity that were like, okay, this fanatic, this is what we need to do, because if we don't do we don't vote something now. I mean, of course, yeah, Donald Trump knows that half is his electoral vote, and the right hand side is like, if we don't do something now, the sooner the liberals are going to replace every fried chicken restaurant with all the salads restaurants and all this kind of stuff, and as I said, it accumulates for like maybe about maybe since 2012 or even before, or like 2008. It's just the media was keep pushing it until, and at this point, and Donald Trump appears. I mean, if it's not Donald Trump, it's probably going to be someone else. It's going to be, I mean, Sanders was like pretty left, and Donald Trump is not even that right. If him is not the Republican candidate, it might be someone else. It's just got to push to this point that like this country feel like it has to divide, and who make that? It's probably not Donald Trump, who go to politics, who basically have like zero experience in politics. He was just like this TV show person before, but I see him as a trigger that people have to, they kind of like have to make their choice now.
Well, yeah, he's a trigger. I mean, that's how you divide people. I mean, look at the way the man has spoken for all these years. I mean, it's I'll just throw in a few nuggets, I think, because it's fun. Here's some from, let's see, 2014. He says, Obama is, without question, the worst ever capital president. I predict he will now do something really bad and totally stupid to show manhood. All right. This is a bully on the playground, pushing people around, just yelling. He is, the braggadocio, the machismo with that man is not unity. Now, if we were to compare the tweet records of Obama, if we just look at him even today, he has always called for unity. He has done everything he can to kowtow to the right and to the left to find compromise. There's no way we would have had Obamacare without a lot of compromise. There's no way. Obamacare is not what he wanted it to be. It's not the Bernie Sanders, like, you know, universal health care plan that he originally pushed. He compromised and he found unity, and this country did really well for the last 8 years. I mean, it's a hockey stick if you're looking at the economy. The stock market's done great. He brought this country together. He was, you know, Donald Trump, though. He said the election is a total sham and a travesty. We are not a democracy. Look, I could go down the list. It's not even like, no one watching this is going to say that this man is bringing together unity. And when he does say anything unifying, it is insincere. He's reading it from a piece of paper. He's being nudged to say what he has to say, even though he doesn't want to. That just happened. I mean, we just had Nazis like kill people and start a riot, and a lot of other people were involved, but it was mostly right-wing, aggressive, angry people starting shit. There were priests. There was Cornel West standing there in a line, blocking their way, and these thugs charged them. This is violent and terrible. This is Donald Trump's world. He created this. We're not making this up. This really happened. And the liberal media might put a twist on it. Maybe they'll ignore some elements of it. The conservative media is going to do that 10 times harder because that's what they do.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's no controversy that Trump doesn't bring this country together. I totally agree with that. But this topic, though, this topic is who does more, and in my opinion, so okay. So if Trump does do a lot of, like, I think, say a lot of terrible words, and he does do a lot of terrible things. But when the media report these things, for example, when they're reporting about a candidate back in like 2 years ago, two years ago, if what a focus, it's not about like those grab her by the pussy remarks. If what they do, like, to report more about the economic side and talk more about all this, what they do, like, if they don't focus so much on the feminism side and the immigration side, and talk more about the policies, and more about how, like what they do to the other like the normal, when they report to the other candidates, they don't talk about so many personal sides and so many. So I mean, Trump does have a lot of negative things. I completely agree with that. But it's what the media choose to report, though. Do they have the universal standard when they report, when they are reporting one story and like talking about one candidate? Do you use the same standard? Are they like trying to twisting things, trying to magnify things to make it looks worse, looks more dramatic, to, you know, attract more attention? Absolutely, I think. How's it?
Yeah. I hear what you're saying about how that division comes through and how the media can apply those techniques. And I think it's interesting when you talk about that, because of course both sides of the media are always doing their little twist. There's always going to be some level of bias. I think it'll be interesting to hear your list of what you think to be as liberal. For one, when I talked about back in the old days when all media was like had a rule. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but there was a point when Reagan came in, or after, where they said, you know what, you media people, it's okay if you lie. We used to have this rule that you're not allowed to lie, but go ahead, lie, and we'll just let the people figure things out. And that's kind of what made Fox News, right? Well, the other interesting to think about is, let's look back at Gore against Bush for that upset. And if we look at this conservative media, you'll find that 13% in liberal media, 13% of the stuff was negative towards Al Gore. But 24% was negative when you were on the conservative side. So the conservative side definitely had a much stronger percent of negative stuff towards Gore. And if you look at the positives, they were angled that way too. So when you talk about the liberal and the conservative media, and you talk about all the things that are issues with media, which I totally get, they're in it for money. There's a game they're playing. They're effectively tools of the state to a certain extent. And so how do we avoid being manipulated by the tools of the state? We try not to just look at one source of news. And unfortunately, what you'll find is that conservatives largely all focus on one or two sources. Fox News, conservatives, 50% of conservatives are watching Fox News. And that's shifted, of course. You know, this is from a couple of years ago. Breitbart is incredibly popular online. I think they're the most popular news source online. So ideology is sort of shifting toward media. Now, comparatively, if you look at liberal media, let's say CNN, 15%. So 50% of these people are all looking at Fox on one side. On the liberal side, they're looking 15% CNN, 13% NPR, 12% MSNBC, New York Times 10%. There's a far more wide range of news sources on the liberal side. And I think when doing something like that, when people follow that practice, they're less vulnerable to division. They're less vulnerable to lies. And I think really lies are the very thing that seed division. If anyone has ever been to high school and ever heard gossip, they will tell you that lies are what ruin people. And liberal media has a much better reputation for not lying.
Well, yeah, true. And I'm glad that you do mention too, like the different sources. The other thing about like liberal media today, though, it's that they are totally outnumbered the right media. I mean, the conservative media. I mean, when you go to the Republican TV station, the largest ones, Fox, down to then the left side, you have the CNN, NBC, New York Times, and like, all these major televisions now, they pretty much have the universal opinion. And then when they do have universal opinions, and people then they look at like 3 or 4 sources, it will like strengthen the mindset that okay, something is right or something is wrong. It doesn't diversify their opinions. It actually makes it stronger because four of them are saying one thing, and if Fox is saying something else, it must have been wrong.
Okay, well, you know, I mean, you're going to look at all of these sources and you're going to decide, you know, who is the most biased, and then collectively you can try to remove that bias by, like, for instance, as a liberal, I might also watch Fox News. That's another interesting factor. Conservative people are not watching the liberal side. Liberals are like, yeah, sure, I'll check that out because it's fun. I mean, especially Breitbart, there's so much garbage. I mean, it's every time a Breitbart thing comes up, a friend of mine runs Breitbarf, which is essentially like a Facebook group where he just posts like Breitbart comments, and then everyone just tears it apart because it's so obvious. There's all these little clues. I don't know how well you know, like, how to determine when something is clearly fake. And there's a lot of things, like there are a lot of yelling, there's a lot of name calling, or, you know, there's so many obvious signs you can tell it. I mean, all of the stuff that came from the Macedonian, you know, clickbait articles that were all over the place for this election, millions of dollars in earnings from putting that stuff all out there on the conservative side, mostly, certainly a ton of that stuff on the left as well. And these people were making money off the ads just by fomenting that division. And that's an element of media that definitely does do that. But that is also a tool that is being used by the state, a tool that Donald Trump used really, really effectively. He influenced journalism. If he posted a tweet, and today if he posts a tweet, people that don't know what he's talking about will go to Fox or Breitbart, and they'll go, oh, wait a minute, what is he talking about? Oh, that's what he just read, or that's what he just watched. He and the conservative side of media are intertwined. They have become state media. And this is very disconcerting. And the only thing that's going to take us against that force that is sort of prone to lies and ignorance, the only way we're going to defend against that is to have an open media, like we have now, like you and I are talking. Like if I'm in San Francisco and I tell you the weather's foggy, I'm honest, it's foggy outside. I can tell you, I can look out the window, you know, existentially speaking, this is a good thing. And the more we're talking to each other, that's great. And I'm going to say one more point, and then I want to hand it off to you. The way that we talk to each other, the way we tweet, the way we communicate, the way we reach out to each other, that is a whole nother level, right? That's the fifth estate. You know, the media is our fourth one, but the fifth estate of bloggers and people like you and me arguing with each other on Facebook, that's where all the influence is coming. And Trump nailed that. He was really good about that. He could read social media so well, and he could understand the emotional impact of every post he made, and he played it, and then he read it, and then he took statistics on it. And you know who helped him? Steve Bannon, who's now back at Breitbart. So there.
Okay, cool. Wow, it sounds really fast. I mean, it's I'm in New York City. It's actually the weather is terrible. Actually, I miss San Francisco. I was in UC Berkeley. I was in UC Berkeley for college for 1 year actually. So I mean, so yeah, you did talk about like Trump is using media himself too. I mean, of course, he was he was a businessman, but then it's still to me it's like he was using Fox and his Twitter and to do what we call like the Twitter managing country, and then on the other side we have like CNN, ABC, New York Times to look at his we'll look at his mistakes all the time, and then they would. And when he deliver a speech or something, they would broadcast it on TV and then talk about that one sentence, like blaming on many sides. They would like in Charlottesville, and they would play that play that image again and again and again, and then remind people, oh, how hateful this people is, how hateful like people in and like in how hateful this president is, and he don't even mention it's the sides and blah blah blah. I'm not defending Trump. He has done a lot of wrongs, but the liberal and then the liberal media, they leverage it and magnify it, and then to focus on the divisive sides, and then it leads to this. Again, it leads to the point that people have to divide. So I mean, I definitely agree that open media is a good thing. It's absolutely. So if we have like more than just the left and right, have something in the something in the middle and something in the middle, it would be great if there are like more, if people are more open to even like our foreign medias, and that would be awesome too if they have more voice in to say what's happening here. So my point is, I mean, is Trump's remarks dividing the country? Yes, absolutely. But has the liberal media done playing a bigger role in this division too? Probably yes, and probably yes too, because this clashes and problems. That's what the media have to do, and when